Hello everyone, this is Paul the Oaken Knight coming to you once again with a unboxing video this time of the 7 Days Battles, June 25th to July 1st, 1862, a game by Worthington Games, and the third in the series of Civil War games that they have begun to produce. And if you recall, I had done a playthrough of the first day of Shiloh in an earlier series of videos, so you can check that out if you want to see the game system in more detail. This time I'm going to keep it high level. The game is not substantially different in terms of the rules as the previous games in the series, so just check out the Shiloh series if you really want to see the game in action. This time I'm just going to kind of show you what's in the box and make some commentary on what you're getting. The 7 Days Battles was a series of battles that occurred as the Union, in one of their many drives to go on to Richmond, moved south in the corridor from Washington to Richmond to try to force the capitulation of the Confederate government. Well, they hadn't planned on Joe Johnston getting wounded and Robert E. Lee making his debut. Early on, Lee signaled his intent to be an aggressive commander by renaming the Army to the Army of Northern Virginia, signifying that he had no intention of taking one step back in the struggle with the Federals. The box art shows Lee and some of his senior commanders. I'm not exactly sure who. Maybe we see Longstreet to the left. I'm not sure. But I like the view. It's like you are one of Lee's aides. I am Captain Oaken Knight standing there waiting for Lee to give me something to do. It's a really cool painting. So the cover art is top notch. The 7 Days Battles were a series of battles, not one battle. And the game reflects that. And in fact, this is a very lightly covered topic in wargaming. I think out of all the games I have and all the games I have had through the years, maybe I had one that was dealing with the 7 days, and even that I think was dealing with just one of the battles of the series of battles that occurred. This one is giving you 8 different scenarios that cover various engagements in the series of engagements that occurred in late June of 1862. And some of them are small, some of them are large, some of them are one mappers, some of them are two mappers. So you have a great deal of flexibility as far as how deep you want to get in, depending on how much time you have to get through the game that you want to do. And the reverse continues the artistic theme of the color palette from the front and shows 2 map panels. Now, this particular view shows that these 2 map panels can be joined to form one larger map. Again, like I said, there's a couple scenarios that are 2 map panel scenarios, so this is probably coming from one of those. If we look here, it says 2 players. Okay, fine, but you saw that I played through Shiloh's first day of their 2-day battle and had absolutely no problems with solitaire. So this is highly solitaire compatible. The GMT scale that I like to use, 1 to 9, it's an 8. I reserve a 9 for a purpose-designed solitaire game, so that is the only reason why I don't give it a 9. They're saying 4 out of 10. They're using a slightly different scale, but I'd say, yeah, that's fine. 4 out of 9 on the GMT scale works for me. Victory within 3 to 6 hours. I think that's one of the strong points that this game is going to bring, is that, you have a shorter amount of time, you use a smaller scenario. Larger amount of time, more time, you can do a 2-mapper. I think that that's going to be very nice for players because they have a lot of customizability as far as how much time they want to put into any particular session. Shiloh didn't really have that. They had a 1-day battle scenario for the first day, and then they had a 2-day full battle scenario, and I think that was about it. The designer's note said that it just wasn't worth doing the second day because it was usually going to be too much of a Union cakewalk if you set it up historically. So this game is all about flexibility and having more options as far as what you actually do with it. And we see the usual stuff. Of course, you get your dice, you get your baggies. That's great. As far as the rules are concerned, we still have series rules. This one is version 1.3b for Baker, and they have highlighted the differences between the version 1.2 and 1.3 with green highlights, most of them occurring towards the end. I skimmed through them. I didn't see anything earth-shattering here. I see maybe tweaks, but not substantial, oh my God, we did something wrong and we have to fix it sort of changes. The playthrough that I did for Shiloh was using 1.1. 1.2 had been released, but I decided to go ahead and use the rules as they existed in the game, which were 1.1. And they were just fine. I had no problems with the rules as they existed with version 1.1 in the Shiloh game, and I don't expect to see any issues at all with this rule set here. It is 8 pages long. It is not a tremendously long read. The game also includes a playbook that contains mostly scenarios. This front page is the only page with actual rules changes, and some of it is just fluff. The main one that I think is interesting is they're saying that Jackson was not that effective in this battle. He's got to roll every turn to see if he can move his units. It's a 50-50 shot that he's just going to sit on his hands any given turn. He can fight, he can shoot, he can do all that stuff, but if he doesn't make his 50-50 roll, he's going to have to sit on his hands as far as movement is concerned. When we pop open the playbook, we see a collection of scenarios mostly. Scenario 1, 2, 3, and so on. Listing the order of battle, listing setup, victory conditions, which map you use, sometimes 1, sometimes 2, for the given scenario. Some are going to be larger, some are going to be smaller. And going on through scenario 8, and finally, terrain effects. Nothing earth-shattering here. If you played the Shiloh game or the Antietam game, you will have absolutely no problems with this one. Oh, by the way, if you guys were not aware, Worthington has republished the prior games. So if you missed out on Antietam and or Shiloh, you can go ahead and buy it straight from them without going to the secondary market and paying whatever premium that they require. I like the game, so if you're interested in the system, take a look at the Shiloh playthrough that I did. And we continue with the player aid cards that are pretty much the same as they were before, and they repeat the terrain effects on the reverse, and on the front side they have the combat results table that looks, if it's not identical, it's pretty darn close to all the others that have come before. You know, ranges, multiplication for, you know, getting close, so artillery can be ×2, exactly as in the Shiloh game that I played. Morale is exactly the same. Movement chart looks exactly the same. So really, this is really not so much different than what you saw in the playthrough video than what I did. Second copy. And for the Confederates, we can see the organization that they are following, which is a bit unusual. According to one of the commentaries in the rulebook, they had not standardized yet to the degree they had at Gettysburg. But A.P. Hill would be a division commander, I do believe. A.P. Hill, A.P. Hill, A.P. Hill. So this is A.P. Hill's division with this green background. But these are the brigades associated with A.P. Hill. And that's how they take care of this. Somewhere around here there should be, yeah, there's A.P. Hill. So he can go ahead and keep his guys in command. There's command radius. And then we have corps commanders, Jackson and Longstreet and Lee. Anyway, here's route markers, fired markers for artillery. Remember, there's an artillery phase where they get to shoot. And if you shoot, then they're committed. They're not moving anywhere. Okay. Leaders, there's Lee. I don't see Johnston, so he must be already gone by the time of the first scenario that they set up for you. And here's more of these wonderful counters. If you have any other games in the series, you have quite a collection of these. They give you an ample amount. I've never really run out of them, so I don't think you're going to have to take counters from one game and put them in the other. And then we have the Yankees. One thing that I like to say is that these counters are individually mounted within their counter racks, which is outstanding. I'm telling you, I'm having a hard time keeping them in. They stayed in for shipment, absolutely 100% perfect. But now that I'm manipulating them and may want to punch them out soon, they just pop out so beautifully, and they don't have any nubs. Some of them I'm starting to see they're going to center mounted, where you actually still have a nub. The nub is in the middle. I don't like that because I have my nice Oregon Laminations corner clipper. If you put the nub in the middle, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. Go ahead and do the corner mounts, and then I can cut that off if I choose to. But anyway, these, you're not going to have to do anything. This is going to pop out so quickly. You are not going to be spending any time at all taking out the counters and then doctoring them up to get them the way you want them to be. All right, there's the Yankees. Oops, and say, I just touch it. I say, how that stayed in for shipment, I don't know. They're so easy to punch out. But every single counter stayed in for shipping. It's amazing. So whatever they're doing a good job. More utility counters. Everything looks beautifully centered. Everything looks so fine. And finally, two-sided single map panels. Let me show you what they look like. And here we see one of the two-sided map panels, and actually the entire thing is not quite making it into the frame. The map panel measures 22 by 25 and a half, so it's slightly smaller than some of the other games I've seen that are usually like 22 by 34, but it is, for this game, I think it's perfectly fine. I see no issues here. Beautifully rendered. I love the textures that are shown inside of the hexes. And here is the other side of the map panel you already saw. I kind of angled it away from the camera a little bit so you could see the whole thing. Every map has the casualty tracker and the turn track for keeping track of what turn you're on. And say victory points are at least partly have to do with how many casualties you inflict. Each casualty is 100 guys. Every time you take losses, you track them on the loss tracker. So if we have the Chickahominy River, which was a substantial piece of terrain in the area. And then actually, if we look on the other map, you see that's also the Chickahominy River. So this one is going to mate up with the other one for a larger scenario. It's beautiful. Absolutely, you're going to have no problems playing on this map. I see no ambiguities. I see no problems. It's great. All right, so I think that's it for my unboxing. Again, I didn't read the rule book on this one just because I've played this system multiple times in 2 different prior games, and so I basically could pick the thing up and just start playing the way it is. There's not too many games that I can pick up and just start playing without reading the rules again, but I think this is one of them, which is nice because it's only 8 pages. Even my ancient brain can go ahead and remember 8 pages of rules. All right. Well, listen, guys. Thank you so much for viewing. If you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, give a thumbs up. If you've already subscribed, well, I just thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. All right, so that's it for today. So this is Paul, the Oaken Knight, wishing you all a pleasant evening.